Спасибо за службу.
Служу России.
Ukraine actually destroyed another Russian landing ship in the last attack on Crimea. Russians seized the Konstantin Olshansky landing ship when they occupied Ukrainian Crimea in 2014. It was dismantled for spare parts for 9 years, and a year ago they decided to restore it. In addition, the Speaker of the Navy of the Ukrainian Armed Forces confirmed the defeat of the Ivan Kurs reconnaissance ship in Crimea. As for Ivan Kurs, we can confirm the defeat of the reconnaissance equipment in the assault part of the ship. It is not combat-ready now. It cannot perform its tasks, Dmytro Pletenchuk said. Well, what comes around, goes around. Details of the capture of the suspects in the Crocus City Hall terrorist attack are still unclear. However, various individuals have already been awarded medals, and the blood-stained knife used to cut off one suspect's ear may have been sold for 10 million rubles, $107,800. Officially, the capture has been attributed to the Russian special services and law enforcement agencies. The Russian Ministry of Defense has published a video showing the award of 5 sets of For Courage and For Military Distinction medals.
Спасибо за службу. Служу России. Спасибо за службу.
Separately, the Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov has published a video and telegram post claiming that men of the Akhmat Russia regiment had distinguished themselves in searching for and neutralizing the terrorists. They also received medals. However, video of one capture shows a visibly injured suspect being escorted by men in civilian clothing. One shows a bloodied knife, allegedly the one used to cut off the suspect's ear. He wears a neo-Nazi Black Sun chevron on his arm. According to the VTHK OGPU Telegram channel, the manhunt was conducted by the Special Purpose Center of the FSB, which has counter-terrorist responsibilities, the GRU Special Forces, and the mobile group of the FSB Border Service. The prisoners were all reportedly abused on being captured, with one of them having his eye knocked out of its socket and another having his ear cut off. They were cleaned up for photos before being tortured with beatings and electric shocks, with clearly visible after effects. The neo-Nazi blogger Evgeny Raskazov has claimed that the knife used for the ear cutting has been sold in an auction with bids reaching 10 million rubles, $107,800. He wrote that part of the funds would be donated to a fundraiser for victims of the attack. Raskazov claims that subscribers of his Telegram channel participated in the suspect's capture and sent him the photos he published of their involvement. It's likely that these subscribers included the individuals displaying neo-Nazi symbols. If so, it may indicate that neo-Nazi identification has become widespread in some parts of the Russian security forces. Otherwise, it would seem unlikely that individuals identifying with neo-Nazism would appear in 2 apparently separate captures. Ukraine is fighting a war of intensity which the West has not seen since Ardennes Offensive 1944. Western wars of the last decades are nowhere near, says a U.S. Navy veteran Malcolm Nance, who joined the Ukrainian Legion in early 2022.
Let's step back and compare every other operation, including Iraq. Same thing with Afghanistan. I was in Afghanistan when the initial invasion happened. But here's the difference. America dominated those wars. Dominated them. 100%. They were on our terms. Terrorism can throw curveballs, but they were on our terms. Full, total air supremacy. Not even dominance, supremacy. Anybody who had an Air Force who was stupid enough to come up against us would lose your Air Force. So these are asymmetric, as we would put it, to where the disproportionate amount of force would literally wipe anybody out of our way. And our opponents would fight us asymmetrically by not fielding big armies. Set all of that aside, right? There is nothing the United States has done since the Vietnam War ended that is anything remotely close to Ukraine. I often describe where my field of battle in Ukraine, which was in Kharkiv province, during the counteroffensive and the months leading up to it was closer to the Ardennes forest of Belgium and France in 1944. Only in winter, when we had fog and no air power. So it was men with rifles, tanks, and artillery. And that's all the resources you get, right? And drones are the equivalent of those little Piper Cub observation aircraft that could fly just, a few hundred feet in the air and look for them. So we stepped back in history, but we're fighting the war that we really prepared for in the 1970s and 80s. We are fighting the Russians, who have their most advanced equipment, whatever they think is their best, with equipment and technology from the 1970s. And that's the war we would have fought had we had a fight with the Soviet Union. It would have been a massacre, just as it's a massacre right now.
And the Financial Times is reporting that Russia started direct oil supplies to DPRK despite of UN sanctions. At least 5 North Korean tankers have left the port of Vostochny in Russia's Far East this month with oil products, according to satellite images provided to the Financial Times by the Royal United Services Institute, the British think tank. These oil deliveries constitute a full frontal assault against the sanctions regime, which is now on the brink of collapse, said Hugh Griffiths, a former coordinator of the UN panel that monitors sanctions on North Korea. Satellite images verified that 2 of the ships then sailed from Vostochny port to the North Korean port of Chongjin, where they appeared to unload. RUSI reports that Vostochny port has also served as a transshipment point for Russian ships that are likely involved in arms trafficking between the 2 countries. What we can see now is a clear arms for oil bartering arrangement in open contravention of sanctions that Vladimir Putin signed off on personally, illustrating Russia's trajectory in recent years from international spoiler to outlaw state, said Griffiths. The Department of Homeland Security have released their initial findings regarding the incident this morning in Baltimore, Maryland, in which a cargo ship rammed into and caused the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. With the report stating that at the time of the crash, the ship was being piloted by a veteran harbor pilot who knew the nearby waterways, and that the ship had notified the Maryland Department of Transportation that they had fully lost propulsion and control as they were departing from port, with them heading directly towards the bridge.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week, it's 6 rescues in 6 days. He's doing the job every day.